Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Here are your hosts, J-Man and Danny, the Midwest motherfuckers. Hey everybody, welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man.
I'm Danny.
Why do you have the giggles almost? What are you fucking chuckling about over there?
Nothing. Just proceed.
Okay, so basically we've had like 3 or 4 ideas rolling around for what we could do the show on, but
they're good ideas.
They are good ideas.
They just need to not be half-assed.
We need to flesh them out because they're in-depth, thought-provoking conversation. Not when we do the comedic episodes where I basically just talk about stupid shit I've done, or it's all dirty stuff about women's bodies, which is also entertaining. People I've known me for years have come to expect nothing less than the lowest common denominator from me, and they shouldn't expect me to change anytime soon. I commented last time that Danny started a Twitter account for the show. And we're up to how many followers?
11.
11 people.
Thank you.
Most of them are podcasts that we have never heard of. So I don't know why they are following us or how they found us, but who's our big new one?
The Minneapolis Post, which is something I've never heard of. But
that's also something I've never heard of.
They have 11,500 followers, so fuck it.
Well, at first we were like, yeah. I'm like, is that a good thing? And Danny's like, well, yeah, they got 11,500 followers. That can only be good. I'm like, what if it's like they heard about us from someone who was offended by us?
Even better.
What they're looking to do is publicize what dicks we are. And next thing you know, I got a mob outside my house looking to burn the joint down. Or conversely, what if it's like secretly a white supremacist news periodical and there's 11,500 skinhead neo-Nazis that are like, hey, these guys sound like they fucking hate the niggers too. I can totally get down with that. Not what we're going for.
You're forgetting the last possible infiltration. They could all be government.
Yeah,
getting ready.
yeah, because we're a blip on the radar. This soon in, and they're already like, those sons of bitches. They're talking about Black Lives Matter. This motherfucker's talking about running for president like he's going to completely overhaul the government.
We're getting too close, and we're going to expose the truth. That's what has happened.
I'm stepping on toes. So tonight, I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's keep it light, because we haven't gotten to the point of finalizing all the ideas on the important topics we want to cover. I'm not even sure how many people like hear that stuff. They're like, oh, all right, we're going to talk serious stuff. Like, what if we're putting all this work in and people are like, oh, fucking boring. Get back to the dildos and the chicks and the stupid stuff.
From the numbers that I've seen, our most popular one has been the BLM show. So.
Of course it has, because everybody wants to hear about the controversial comments I'm going to make about an entire social movement that's basically just a bunch of racial instigators. So without further ado, what we're going to kick the show off with now is a game of Would You Rather. And I'm actually going to read them in reverse order.
Should we talk about how long it took us to do this, too?
Okay, so I came up with this idea, and I'm like, let's do political ones. And then I came up with a good one, and it would spawn a conversation that would probably last 10 minutes on its own. I'm like, fuck, I don't know if we get the brain power to do this, because writing those is hard. So I'm like, we'll just write stupid, like, dirty ones, try to gross each other up. And I wrote down 2 that I've had for like a week waiting to do this, and then I pounded out 3 more painstakingly. I'm like, all right, I got 5, let's go. And I look over, and
I'm just staring at the paper.
And I'm like, you don't have any.
My brain don't function that way. I don't know.
Mine does, because I went to Catholic school. That's how. If you go to private school, odds are you are going to end up with a better education and be really fucked up.
I don't believe a better education. It depends on what kind of freaky science they're trying to teach you.
Well, it's not just that. There was some kid that left my elementary school. It was K through 8. So he left in like 5th grade, and when he got to 6th grade in the public school down in Minneapolis, because he was native, so he lived in whatever the native part of town is down in Minneapolis, where they have their whole
mini reservation type
mini
thing.
white earth over there. And he's like, yeah, 6th grade at the public school in Minneapolis, we were doing shit that we did in 4th grade.
Yeah, for maybe math, but what did you guys believe? How did you guys
get
told
like
that the earth started?
English and reading. Oh, no, that's the thing. They didn't talk about creationism versus evolution.
What did they teach, though? How did they teach it?
They just taught about God and Jesus.
Science-wise.
It was Catholic school. We learned about...
Did they just say the planets are out there because that's where God put them?
No, they taught you science straightforward like it's science. They actually did. Even when I got to Catholic high school and it was more Catholic, no, it's the same shit. They just taught science, and religion.
They just skipped over all the theories of how we started.
Well, the one religion teacher is like the fucking principal of the school now, but she was a nutcase. She was so pro-Catholicism. She was so anti-abortion. We spent a week talking about abortion. And then to bring it all down to the grand finale, she brings in some broad that works at an abortion clinic. It's like, this is so-and-so, and I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm so-and-so, and my job is in the post-op room where I go through and I make sure we have all the dead baby parts. I put all the baby parts back together. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ!
So she's the one in the video?
Well, this would have been back in 1998, so no. But I excused myself from class to the comments. I'm like, I don't need to listen to this shit. So being exposed to stuff like that, and we had this teacher who was like a men's basketball coach, and he was really fucking weird, and like he came from a small town. He was very almost Forrest Gump-like, and he would always talk about his wife as the beautiful so-and-so. I'm not going to say her name, because I might give it away, just in case there's other people from that high school listening, which probably never will be. Damn it. So the beautiful, whatever the fuck her name was. And people saw her picture on his desk, and they're like, dude, she looks like she's mentally retarded. I'm like, oh, God, no. And he had this fucking recliner in the room that was his dead dad's recliner. Oh. But his dad used to beat the shit out of him. So, like, all he got was this ugly green recliner. And if you got there early enough, you got to sit in it. And then we all took turns sitting in it for a few days, you know, because it was kind of a treat. But then the thing started falling apart. But that was him. He was fucking bizarre.
You know, it's not a surprise that there's creepy fucks working in the religious school.
There are, because you know what? A lot of the... It's funny. Private school for people that never went. Here's what the teachers are. 50% really cool, zany, down-to-earth, intellectual people that will make you really love school. And the other 50% are public school rejects. They are. They're half of them, like, didn't hack it in the public system, and then they turned on the Catholic charm, and they got hired at my high school.
That just sounds the same as high school anyway. Half of the teachers are alright. Small percent of them are really cool. And the rest are just kind of collecting a paycheck.
Where do the public school washouts come from? You know, it makes you wonder, like, do these people not hack it at a Crossroads alternative school? Are these people that shitty that somehow you graduate from the lowest common denominator of student, like the worst of the worst, to the middlings in public school?
I think public school is just all the amateurs. So, like, you know, there's amateur baseball teams out there and you can graduate up to AAA or whatever. I think public school teachers are probably just your average amateurs. And then I think after that, then you got your private schools. So if you fuck up in public school, then you go to the Crossroads alternative school.
No, it seems like some of the real fuck-ups in public school somehow found their way to my high school. Like they were washouts. But like I toured the public school in town, and then we went there, and I saw the sheer size of it. Like my graduating class from 8th grade was like, I think 78 kids. 78. The most we ever had was in like 3rd or 4th grade, like 95 kids.
I want to say we had like 3,000.
Yeah, yeah. But my graduating class, senior high, was 184. Think about that. So then I went to the public school with my folks for orientation night, and there's this math teacher. He's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. None of your kids are probably geniuses, and they're not all special like you think they are. And a lot of kids fail my class. I probably fail a third of my class every semester, and there's going to be homework every night, and a bunch of them aren't going to learn what I'm trying to teach them because they just don't have it in to grasp the material. And I'm like, nope, let's go. My folks are like, what? I'm like, did you just hear that, motherfucker? A third of his class fails, and it's not his fault for being a shitty teacher. Like, he doesn't take the effort to try to get through to that other 33% so that everybody is at least passable. Dude, there's other ways. There's like remedial math or get a tutor. I don't know, but you can't just be like, 1/3 of all the students are fucking idiots, and I don't give a shit because I'm 5 years from retirement and I've got tenure, so nobody's gonna fucking take me off my high horse. So fuck your stupid kid because they can't learn quadratic equations or logic or whatever the fuck he was teaching. But I was like, screw this, and then I toured 2 private Catholic high schools. And I chose the one that wasn't De La Salle, if that tips you off. Because I decided that, could I be a river rat? Or should I go up on the hill with the rich kids? I chose up on the hill.
Which would have been cooler if you played sports, but you didn't, did you?
I tried a little, but I wasn't very good. I didn't care then. I didn't give a shit about school until junior year. First year, I was just kind of like a turd floating in the bowl, waiting to find out if I was getting flushed or if I was going to sink. And then sophomore year was a fucking disaster. Sophomore year, for me, was like the diarrhea you get after eating an entire 12-pack of Taco Bell burritos.
Oh.
It was bad. Like, I dated this chick, and it was the first girl I ever loved. It was my first long relationship, so I was all mopey, so then I didn't go out for football again. And then, like, my group of friends, I started splitting off into a different group of friends because all the ones I had were, like, these wannabe badasses that parents mostly had money, and then they had a lot of white supremacist tendencies, so I'm like, yeah, I should probably distance myself from these guys. And then, like, I started hanging out with, like, band geeks and shit, and, like, the rock guys and the heavy metal guys. And those were the coolest fucking people.
But what you're trying to say is you were emo before emo?
Well, no, I just had a tough fucking year. Like, it got bad. But junior year, the last day of sophomore year, like, for weeks prior to the end of sophomore year, I'm, like, asking people, like, what, you think I should shave my head? You think that would look all right? And then I went home that day, and I was like, all that sissified sadness and anger that I've had the last year, I need to just fucking shed it. I came home, and I buzzed my head. And I haven't changed my hairstyle in, like, 18 years since.
So you hung out with not the race or the white supremacists, but
I hung out with those dudes sparingly, but it's like they were friends that also didn't like each other for a myriad of reasons. So they were kind of dickish to each other. So I kind of floated in between. I had actual friendships and relationships with the people in the secondary group that I grew closer to towards the tail end of sophomore year going into junior year.
Of course, the other ones sound like knuckleheads pretty much.
They were. Like one guy...
How many turned out to be meth heads?
I don't know. One guy turned out to just be like a blue-collar construction worker, right? And another guy whose parents had money and their own company. And like back in high school, he used to go steal clothes at the mall at like Ridgedale just for fun.
I guess the trouble is...
And drink and drive. Huh? Yes. And like all the kids that were in my secondary group of friends, the majority of them, we were all like blue-collar. Like I was on financial aid. I almost couldn't go there because my folks couldn't afford it. Yeah. And then my mom got a series of jobs to kind of help out. Because it was like, I think the difference between my K through 8 school's tuition when I was done, that was probably like close to $2,000 or $3,000. High school started at like $5,600. And by the time I was done, it was like $6,800 a year. Now it's like 10 or 12 grand a year. They're like, hey, all these other fucking schools are like Benilde St. Margaret's and St. Thomas. They're all making fat bank. We better up. And now they have an engineering program.
For high schoolers?
Yes. Jesus. College credits. All kinds of shit. Like, I went to go hang out right before Christmas break. I emailed the dean. He's like, yeah, come back, and I'd love to see you. Unfortunately, the email, he's like, yeah, I still remember when you came down from Forest Lake and your first year with football, and say hi to your sister and your parents for me. And I'm like, you're thinking of this guy who graduated in class of 98? I'm this guy who graduated in 2000. And then his reply email was, oh, rats. That's embarrassing, but at least you said you laughed about it and you took it like a champ and you weren't offended. Come on down anytime and come see the school. And I went there, and then like he was in meetings, and my favorite teacher ever wasn't there, but my second favorite teacher ever was there. And I got to talk to him, and I told him what I was doing and how I was bored of being a CO and how I wanted to do comedy and how we might be starting a podcast. And it was just weird being in those halls. But like the dean said, no, go walk around. I had my youngest daughter with me, and she wasn't having it. She was bored, and all these people are like, all these dudes like, there's a guy with a kid here. And all the girls are like, oh my God, she's so precious. Because small children are kryptonite to teenage girls' judgment about keeping their knees together. I mean, if I was trying to land on To Catch a Predator, I probably could have pooned like 20, 16-year-olds that week.
That's terrible.
But the dean's like, oh, go check out the new fitness facility. They don't have a weight room. They have a fitness facility.
Whole fucking...
I don't know. I didn't go because I was like, well, I got to go pick up my other kid from school. I'll come back another time. He's like, definitely, come on back. A day when I don't have a meeting, so I can walk and talk, and you can tell me about how you've been. It was a weird environment there. It was. We had some hardcore drug. The hockey team all smoked pot. There was this chick. I don't know her last name, but her name was Jenny, and she was infamous for wearing like the shortest skirt you get away with.
At the Catholic school.
And high socks. And like V-neck sweaters. She dressed like actual old school Catholic school. But she had a huge coke problem. And wore like way too much eyeliner with cattails and shit. God, some real fucking egghead nerds.
So
that went on to be doctors and shit.
So what you're saying is private school has the same plethora of fuckheads.
There's social classes. Yeah.
as public school. You got your druggies, you got your band kids, you got your fucking...
Well, here's the thing, though. All right, so I graduated 2000. You graduated, what, 02?
Mm-hmm.
How many kids did you know in school that either tried or regularly used meth or heroin?
A lot.
I knew zero. Zero kids doing heroin. I knew one girl that did cocaine. Everybody was drinking at my school, but the public school seemed like they had hard drug problems.
We had meth, coke. There was no heroin. And actually, a lot of LSD towards the end of the senior year.
Really?
Yeah.
Some kids talked about shrooms. There was a few kids, like 2 or 3, that tried like psychotropic and psychoactive drugs, hallucinogens and shit. But nobody was fucking around with meth because in, 96 to 2000, meth wasn't really a blip on the radar, and heroin was it was a weird period.
Yeah, like I said, there was never anybody that did heroin back in high school, but meth at the time was crank. It was before it had evolved to glass and whatever. It was just shitty white powder.
God, that's like, I'm thinking about this.
There was a plethora of that shit.
Like the drug epidemic in America now, and like what it was like in my small little corner of Catholic high school. But for the first time, I had kids coming from way all over the place to my school because it was open enrollment. No hard drugs. Think about that. No hard drugs. Almost 1,000 kids, and nobody's talking about using hard street drugs. Just like party drugs. And nobody did ecstasy because it wasn't really a thing then. That's like the golden age before the next, like the one boom ended with crack nationally. Then it was heroin and then meth and now heroin again. And then they're kind of going back to meth.
Yeah.
And the synthetics. Like, think about that. Like, I knew nobody.
Well, then there's there's what they call research chemicals. That's where, like, the bath salts and shit are coming out of. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're just taking...
They're tweaking chemical analogs to make something.
Just by one or two molecules, they just got to change it a little bit and then re-release it out there. And the fucked up thing with that is there's some good research chemicals that they're making that are showing great potential.
Then there's like 2CE.
Right.
Like that mail order drug that killed some kid in Blaine and sickened 11 people at a house party 4 years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but think about that. Now, you don't have to say about you, but everyone's always going to talk like me if they have this. I've never even tried drugs. Like, I'm straight edge. People know it about me. I'm infamous for being the sober cab of my group because a lot of my friends like to pound down the sauce.
Which is cool and all, but isn't there a part of you that wants to know what some of these things are like?
I came this fucking close. My fingers are about, a half inch apart. So I was so close to trying weed. But then I was like, you know what? If it fucks with my head or I get caught, I'm screwed. But that was it. Like, I was really into the Cottonmouth Kings because of their punk rock aesthetic. Yeah. Not because I was trying to pretend to be like, everybody knew I didn't do drugs, but I was cool with people that smoked pot. But I never even tried weed.
Right.
I've never even tried smoking, and I've only drank for like 2 or 3 years of my life, and I didn't party hard.
Yeah,
we talked about this. Drinking my Smirnoff Ice and Yeg.
Yep.
But I never got drunk, so I mean that's when I went straight edge. Like my 7-year anniversary of going full straight edge is coming up on March 7th. But yeah, can you imagine if I would have done drugs? Here's some of the, you heard some of the shit I pulled in high school with like that sexual harassment thing where I almost got in trouble for it. Like, did I talk what I did in the bathroom stalls? Oh.
Do I really want to know?
No, it's not like, it doesn't involve cum. I hadn't evolved yet when I was in high school. There was a period of time when there was so much chew in school. Like, chew was the big, smoking and chew. That's like middle school now. And they threatened to take the doors off the stalls in the men's bathroom, in the guys' bathroom. Here's the deal. There's 4 stalls on each side. They face each other. So you'd have to take a shit while watching some other dude shit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I got mad about that. And I would wipe, the first wipe of my shit was always dedicated for a few weeks here to drawing a poopy smiley face on the tile on the walls.
You realize that's something like serial killers and mentally disturbed people do?
What, just drawing poopy smiley? It's
playing
just
with
poop.
Your shit.
I'm not really playing with my shit. I'm drawing
That's
with
where
shit.
all the diseases come.
It's my shit. We've established that you can't get sick off your own shit.
Oh, I suppose.
You only get Hep A from other people's shit. So only the janitor had to work.
You know they do fecal implants? They take shit out of a healthy person and put it into somebody who has like IBS.
Oh, so that they could like balance out the enzymes and bacteria in the stomach.
Yeah, isn't that disgusting?
Yeah, that's gross.
Let's go get a poop transplant.
The other thing I used to do is with the exception of the first semester, because we had 8 classes a day, and the year was split into 2 semesters, so 8 periods. Only the first semester ever, freshman year, did I not have a free period. Every other semester, the rest of high school, I had 8th period free.
Nice.
So I always did my homework then. So I could go home and fuck off and play PlayStation and go out and shoot hoops and shit or work. So one thing I used to do is I'd take a sheet of loose leaf paper, a notebook paper, and I'd quarter it. And on each one I'd draw cock and balls, and I'd write class of 2000 rules. And I'd slip it into random lockers. Now, I didn't know whose locker was what. And sometimes they might have been lockers of people in my own grade. I don't know.
Right.
That's the type of stuff that I did not doing drugs.
I had a buddy that used to, that was his calling card, the cock and balls.
Was it?
You would come into the classroom and he knew if he was there because it would be full fucking chalkboard or whiteboard. He got real creative with the whiteboard because he could use colors, you know.
Right.
One of them was bleeding, cum.
Bloody cum.
But, it was fucking hilarious. One time, he drew one that was like full fucking chalkboard again, you know. The teacher comes in and starts fucking teaching. Apparently didn't look at it until he turned around. And the funniest part is he knew who it was. Like, he knew that was his calling card.
You want to know why he didn't acknowledge it? Because if he did, he knew your friend would feed off that shit. And he's like, I'm not going to give you the fucking satisfaction. That teacher knew what the fuck he was doing. He was playing a mental game of chess with that motherfucker.
We got away with a lot in that class though, because that was the same class we did football fights, but we would, instead of shooting right at each other because that got boring, we would just shoot them above whoever's desk. So then, for whatever reason, the person with all the spitballs
raining down.
Well, that person sitting there would get in trouble for them. Like they're shooting spitballs at the ceiling, you know.
We played the penis game at lunch a few times to like hilarious results. Like my friend Mike, the loudest yelling of the word penis I've ever heard in my life. And it's like, penis! A teacher makes a beeline because we're just dying. He's like, no, you guys, just no. And what's funny is that we would joke that like our table that we sat at was one of 3 that were directly under this big crucifix in the commons. So Jesus was always looking down at us. I'm like, Jesus just saw you do that. Jesus just saw you win the penis game, like, forever. But then we'd have, like, rubber band snap fights. We didn't ever do, like, spitballs and shit.
How many kids in private school are actually believe the religious rhetoric?
I don't know. Not a lot. A lot of us didn't really talk about it. There was a few, like, they had Lasallian Youth, which was a group for the Uber churchers.
The Puritans?
Yeah, they'd go to, like, chapel in the morning 3 times a week.
And then here's another one. Do you think less people today believe in religion?
Yes.
Than over the years?
Our generation.
Do you think it's because of the information, the science, and shit like that, or?
It's because the religions don't want to change with the times. They want to keep preaching these morals from 50 years ago, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and people are like, I'm pretty sure that I can be okay with God if I just do what I want as long as I'm a good person. As long as I'm not out there, like, shooting hard drugs and robbing people and thinking I'm getting away. Like, if you're just living a basically simple, like, premarital sex, okay, ironically, I can tie this back into the school thing because I lost my virginity on the smoking trail in the woods behind school to some slut.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, it didn't take a lot to really wean her over favor. She asked me if I'd buy her a pop. I'm like, yeah, sure, if you suck my dick. I didn't think it was going to work. The next thing you know, she's like, well, I got to smoke. I'm on the smoking trail. And she's like, do I really have to suck your dick? I'm like, well, I'm not going to make you, but come on. Are you really going to pretend like you don't want to? So next thing you know, she's like rolling down her knee-high socks to kneel in the dirt to knob me off. And I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying this. And then out of nowhere, I was like, hang on a second. She's like, what? I'm like, why are we fucking around? You know we both want to have sex.
So you stopped a blowjob? I
stopped a blowjob to fuck her.
I suppose it was your first time.
I pulled the Valley Fair towel out of my backpack and laid it on the ground. And we made awkward love where I lost my boner halfway through and it kept slipping out of her when she was on top. But to be honest, she was probably like a 5.5 or a 6. She was short and chubby. She had kind of a cute face, but her tits were weird. And
so you should have just kept with the blowjob.
She was a borderline ginger, and looking back now, I realized just how pink her nipples were, and her pubes were like super, super light. So I couldn't tell if she had any or not, because like her inner pussy meat was also very light pink, and she was very fair skinned.
You fucked an albino.
Nah, she wasn't an albino.
Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So how did religion maintain for 2,000 years then? I think it's got to be the technology. Because if you look back, it lasted 2,000 years, but people 2,000 years, or that first 2,000 years are pretty much the same. It wasn't until, what, 1900s that we started rapidly advancing with technology?
Well, the Dark Ages, where they pretty much tried to do away with anybody that was involved in science or philosophy that didn't fall in line with their religious ideals, and then they were a heretic or a heathen, and people had to go underground, and then, you know, one day somebody finally found their balls, and Martin Luther had his 99 Thesis, and he hammered it onto the door of a church saying, "I'm starting my own church." And then that kind of enlightened people. And then once you eventually got to the industrial age, and it was all about producing and capitalism and machines and all these new ways of making these new items and materials so that everybody could have a car and a house and this and a that. And then it was just pretty much, okay, let's just go to church. And then like only the true, like hard, like the Irish Catholics. They're like, you got to go to church every Sunday, and you got to love all your brothers and sisters, all 18 of them. And don't fucking talk about your mom just because, you know, her pussy's hanging a little low these days. I'm going to go drink some moonshine out in the shed out back. It probably didn't sound very Irish, but I didn't have time to work on it.
It kind of trailed off of the true question anyway.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Like,
so the internet has helped expose people to more faiths.
I would go farther back than that even though. Like,
you said when you thought it was?
Well, I think the majority of people stopped believing, like, let's see, 70s, 80s, 1970s and 80s.
My folks didn't.
Because, well, right, that's what I'm saying.
They got married in like 80.
My parents probably, I would say my mom believes, and my dad just says he does. But I could be wrong. I don't know. They don't talk about it. But that generation, most of them, I would say, still kind of hang on to that. Where my generation and below...
Us millennials were like, fuck you, are you fucking idiots? Come on. How much science disproves all your stupid bullshit?
Right. So...
Especially with like the...
that puts us at the 70s, 80s. When
what's the name of that church where they always go picket funerals of military guys?
Oh, the Baptists, the
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yes, there you go.
So like those motherfuckers take it way too seriously. There's still those people around.
Oh, there's shitloads of those people around.
But like, did your folks make you go to church?
No.
Never?
Nope. I've been to church for like...
Did they baptize
on Christmas? You? Yeah, they did that.
How many sacraments did they make you go through?
None.
First communion?
No.
None of that?
No.
I had them all the way up to confirmation, which is like 9th grade.
My sister did that stuff, and she went to some Catholic school, but I think... that ended in, like, middle school.
Fuck you. You got off easy.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Dude.
My mom reminds me of that every time I start talking about not believing. She wishes she sent me.
I got indoctrinated, like, early. Bible school.
Yeah.
And we'd go and do art projects and, like, draw ourselves holding hands with Jesus or roll a candle in some glitter.
So when did you yourself... When did the switch get turned in your brain where you realized that the guy upstairs is...
High school.
Took you that long?
10th grade. I never really gave it much thought. Like, I stopped giving a shit, but, like, in my K through 8 school, I was an altar boy. They didn't let you do that until, like, 5th or 6th grade. But, like, I didn't feel like I was serving the Lord. I looked at it with, like, I've always had this weird work ethic. Like, I'd show up for church on Sundays with my folks, and the priest, like, knew what time we always showed up because my dad was automatically always there at the same time to get the same pew.
Yeah.
Because he had to be on the aisle for my sister's wheelchair. But the priest would be looking for me. I'm like, oh, shit. He's like, hey, we need you for Mass. Somebody didn't show up or somebody's not coming. So I can't tell you how many Masses I served. Ridiculous amounts of them. Even times where he's like, can you do the next one too? So like we'd always go to 10:30 or he'd have me stay for 12:15. That one sucked. Because you weren't playing any Nintendo till like 3 in the afternoon. So like I looked at that like a job. Like when your boss was like, oh, so-and-so's sick and you come in. Basically, me as an altar boy was the equivalent of Dante from Clerks. Like, it's my day off. I'm fucking tired. I'd show up and I'd be like almost forgetting when I got to ring the bell and open the book and how to hold it and if it's upside down or right side up or when to pass the chalice with the gifts and shit. Yeah. So then high school rolls around. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I'm sick. They've been forcing me to do this shit. I never got a choice.
So is that like 10th grade then?
10th grade, I just went, enough of this shit.
Do you remember the exact moment and what you thought?
Well, it was that teacher who was the principal now at my high school who was all anti-abortion and super churchy, mixed with the Boston Archdiocese molestation scandal. And I'm like, that's fucked up. I don't want anything to do with that. But like I gave up in junior year. I gave up religion for Lent. Yeah, most people give up ice cream or swearing.
That's fucking good.
And we're sitting in class. I know. We're sitting in class, and I'm laying my head on my desk, and my friend Big Kev is sitting across the classroom from me, and the teacher's like, "Oh, so what's everybody going to give up for Lent?" And then I look up, and I'm like, I'm just shaking my head like, no, mouthing no. He's like, and nodding. I'm like, fuck you. She's facing towards the wall, and we're both on the opposite opposing sides of her peripheral vision. So she can't see this exchange. So all of a sudden, Kevin's like, oh.
J-Man.
Yeah, you're what J-Man's giving up. And she's like, oh, what? I'm like, oh, nothing. It's no big deal. She's like, oh, what? I'm like, well, I'm kind of at a crossroads with my faith. So I guess I decided I'm going to give up religion for Lent and just give it like a 40-day trial run. And she's like, that's not funny. And there's like people in the class that are like, oh. Like they're all fucking scoffing. They're disgusted. And I'm like, really?
No,
like, I can't have a difference of opinion.
I'm sure they were disgusted because they wish they thought about it.
Well, probably. Well, that trial run, I'm like, it was a pretty good trial run because I gave it up and I stopped going to church.
You didn't get struck down by lightning?
No, I didn't, and I stopped.
Your dick didn't fall off?
No, it didn't. And it probably should have with how much I was tugging on it. I'm surprised that fucking thing didn't like wilt up and rot right off or just boom, just pop right off. You know. So and then like our senior retreat, we had to watch this video, and then it talked about agnosticism. And I said to the lady after, I'm like, well, I'm agnostic. She's like, no, you don't just hear it in the video and get to say that. I'm like, no, seriously. I explained the previous year. I'm like, I gave up religion last year for Lent as a trial run, and it stuck. Kevin's with me that day. He's like, no, he did. It pissed a lot of people off. He gave it up. She's like, that's not funny. I'm like, I'm not trying to make a joke. I just didn't know what the term for that was. And now that I've heard it and I know that's what I've been doing, I'm agnostic. Like, you could get mad at me for not being Catholic anymore, but I'm telling you, I believe in God, but I don't know what religion's right. And then, fast forward to 10 years later or 13 years later, and I've lived through 9/11 and other horrible shit and Hurricane Katrina and the priest from my K through 8 school who's like world renowned. He got a brain tumor and died. And I asked my mom, like near the end, I'm like, where is he? Well, he's at this hospital. I'm like, you think he's taking visitors? She's like, you probably have to make an appointment through. They probably just don't want anybody. I'm like, well, I kind of wanted to go talk to him about faith. Like, I was going to go there and explain to him where I was at and just my big question. And I literally cried that he died before I could talk to him because I wanted to ask him, how do you keep your faith knowing that your brain's going to fucking explode? You devoted your whole life to God and this mission, and you've gone to Guatemala. You've built churches in third world countries. You're fucking awesome. That guy was awesome. He was everything you should do as a religious figure, he did. But then he got a brain tumor and he died. And I'm like, how the hell did he maintain?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what caused me to have the switch turned on in my brain. Because my grandpa on my mom's side was super religious. He went to church every Sunday till the day he died. But he got cancer and died. So, in my head, I actually remember thinking this. I don't know how old I was when he died. I was really young, but I think that was one of the leading things to me realizing, like, this is bullshit.
It didn't make any sense because of all that horrible shit.
He was such a great guy. Yeah. He fucking went to church. He obeyed God's rule. And then God came and fucking struck him down. And like a year prior...
That's the ultimate joke of religion, is that no matter how much you try, you're never safe.
A year prior, he was fucking mugged right outside of his house in northeast Minneapolis. So that was another thing I remember thinking, like, okay, so he gives his tithings, every week. He's there every week. He, is living to the code of the Bible or whatever. And not only does he get robbed, then he dies a year later. It's like, so this is how God repays you for being a good servant?
Right, that's when, like I said, all that bad shit happened and then my sister died. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I can't watch my mom. Like, what really got me there was my mom like, well, it's in God's hands and you really have to believe in the power of prayer. I'm like, I fucking don't. I have to believe in the medicine she's getting and the science involved at the hospital. And then the fucking doctors couldn't get her right, and they overdosed her on some drug. And then she got MRSA and pneumonia, and that's what took her out. Then my sister was severely mentally disabled, so she was already disadvantaged from a developmental standpoint, but she also had a weakened immune system. So like my cousin, uber religious like your grandpa, but not as extreme. She was just a very vibrant spirit. She was beautiful. You know, when she died, I got her name tattooed on my chest because I always wanted to keep her close to my heart. That was the sentiment I had there. She was that special that even though I shunned religion, I could never shun her because she always did it right. She didn't preach it on us. She was just so happy all the time. And I'm like, she was born with CF, cystic fibrosis. She never should have made it out of her teens, and she made it to almost 40. Mm-hmm. So there's my cousin dying, and she was a great person. Several bouts of double pneumonia in each lung, and it went on for 5 years. She spent the last 5 years of her life, like 60% of it in the hospital down at the U of M. You know, and my sister, like, died this horrible way, but my mom's just like, it was almost like a psychosis, the way my mom was stuck on the religious aspect of it. Like, I'm praying, and you need to pray for your sister.
That's what it seems like with a lot of these people who are super religious. It's like, it comes back to the switch again. It's like there's a dimmer switch in them ones. Like, the eyes are open and stuff, but there's nothing, it's just this automatic, oh, well, it's up to God. It's in God's hands, like you said, or it's just this
easy crutch for them. Where they feel powerless.
Right.
And the fucked up part of all that is when my mom's saying, say prayers so that she pulls through, I wasn't. You know, when my sister was like hooked up to all these machines in ICU, like the last time I went to see her at the hospital, I was just like, I wasn't even then. It was the day she got to the hospital, she got rushed there by ambulance because she stopped breathing. Like she aspirated on her vomit or some shit. And my dad noticed it, and like the cops came and my dad tried to give her mouth to mouth, it didn't work. They revived her a little, took her to the hospital. So we're in one of the emergency room, critical incident rooms in the back. And she's on the table, and they're running this battery of tests. My mom's just like fucking just shaking her head. You could see like the gears turning like, oh no, this might be it. I'm just like, all I can do as a nurse walks by, she's like, are you okay? Like, yeah, why? You're just like a block of ice. You have like no emotion on your face. I'm like, well, one, my face is just kind of stuck that way. I'm one of those people that has a permanent frown. But two, I've watched my sister almost die a ton of times, lady. You want to go help somebody? Go talk to my mom. She needs the pep talk, and I can't give it to her because right now, I'm not hurting. And I whisper into my sister's ear, I'm like, it's okay. You can go. I'm not going to be mad. I watched her almost die for years. Circle and drain. So when my mom's praying for recovery, I'm praying for death. And some people might think that sounds sick. You watch a person that you're related to, your sibling, suffer. You know? And like you and your brother, you and your sister, you have memories. You guys lived holidays, vacations, conversations you had growing up, lessons you learned from each other. What did I learn? Nothing. What did I have? Nothing. Because she couldn't see and she couldn't hear and she couldn't communicate because mentally she was a 3-month-old. All my personal memories are exclusively impersonal. There's nothing to them because I couldn't learn anything from her mistakes. She couldn't give me that big sister advice. So I'm just like, okay, fine. And then I went there, and that was after the overdose. I made like 2 or 3 trips to the hospital. One day I'm like, fuck it, I'm done. You're fighting with the doctor. I kind of want to punch him in the face. I just walked out. I'm like, I'm done with the fucking hospital. Don't expect to see me again. I said that to my dad. He tried to stop me. I just got in the elevator, like the elevator door shutting on this floor, and I just went and opened it back with my hands, and people were like, what the fuck? And I got in and went down, and I never stepped foot in there again before she died. But I was just like, how can you believe in this shit, Mom? Well, you have to believe in the power of prayer. No, I don't. Well, it's all in God's hands. That's a fucking cop-out.
Yeah.
Why does this happen? Well, it's not our place to ask or to know. It's His plan. What a crock of horse shit.
Yeah, they all turn themselves into, like, slaves of slaves. Like, they are a slave to the religion. They are nothing and everything at the same time. Like, they contradict themselves constantly. It's just, I haven't, so I've obviously over the years have been in situations where I'm at a funeral or a wedding and everybody's doing the prayer, you're in a church and everybody's praying and bowing their head.
I still know that shit. I still remember a lot of that shit.
I don't,
so
I can't even say it to myself in my head because it just feels fake as fuck.
Yeah, I sometimes forget in the middle. I haven't stepped foot in a church since like 2009. Other than like maybe a funeral or two.
Yeah, I've had
so if you're
a couple
listening,
weddings lately.
If you're listening and you don't understand what we're driving at, we're both atheists. So
ooh, scary word.
That is the point we're both atheists, and people that hear about that are like, well, you're gonna rot in hell. Am I? Because I don't think that you're gonna rot in hell for trying to force your religion on me. It's really fucking annoying. You're like a mosquito when I'm in the woods out on a nature hike and you just keep nipping at me trying to get your point across. And fuck off, you bloodsucker. But I had comparative world religions classes, a couple in high school, a few in college. I was exposed to Judaism and Islam and Taoism and Buddhism and all that shit numerous times. So I know a little bit about enough of the world religions to know that when I went on my, I'm going to throw up the air quotes, spiritual quest, when I became agnostic trying to figure out what fit me, the only thing I've retained from any religion is that my moral compass was highly developed by Catholic ideals.
And that's the good thing. See, if that's where you stop your seriousness about it, like the Bible and all them, the basis of a religion, it's all just a really good moral compass to live by.
Karma's the other one.
But as soon as you start really truly believing that there's one guy that's, you know, like they split the river so they could walk across the river. Come on, seriously.
Well, it was the Red Sea that Moses parted, but yeah, all right, you've got the general idea, but it wasn't Charlton Heston, it was this guy named Moses.
Right, or you know what the burning bush actually could have been?
Gonorrhea?
No, they actually, some people who think it could have been whoever saw the burning bush was on hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Moses was tripping on shrooms.
Very well could have been.
I think it was Moses. It might have been Abraham. No, it was Abraham. And they asked him to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, and he was going to do it. And God's like, whoa, 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 what the fuck? No, dick, it was a test.
And that's
really?
The other thing. That's just fucking whack. All these we could get into this for hours, I'm sure.
We could. And that's the funny thing, is this was not going to be a thought-provoking, serious show.
No, we were supposed to go ahead and...
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it now, motherfucker.
Let me just add one more thing. Okay, we're going to be eventually doing a show on entheogens.
Entheogens.
Entheogens, it's a fun word. I'm still learning how to master saying it, but my favorite theory is how we evolved, and I'll just leave this with the audience. Look it up. It's the stoned ape theory.
The stoned ape?
Terence McKenna. Just look into it.
Well, without further ado, here's our round of Would You Rather. Would you rather be blind for 1 year or deaf for 2 years?
That one's easy. I would go blind for a year. I love music too much.
I figured that I'd softball one over the plate before I really get into the gross ones.
What did you pick on that one?
I'm going to have to go with you too, because, I mean, I can operate in the dark around my house. If I'm like, oh, after a year I'm going to get my eyes back, like say it was some medical condition, like a vitamin deficiency, and then you eventually got your vision back, I could get by for a year.
Well, and you might trip out. Like the isolation chambers.
Yeah, maybe.
If it's pitch black...
Plus, it heightens all your other senses to almost superhero levels.
Right.
Deaf, no. I couldn't go a day without music. No. I can't go a half day without music.
Well, and I don't know. I mean,
or hearing
you got
my
your
kids'
equilibrium
voices
in there. I wonder if that affects anything, you know? Do you start getting shitty balance if you go deaf all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Because your equilibrium is in there with all that shit.
How would I know if I'm hitting the right tone for doing my impression of Jesse if I can't hear myself?
Or Peter.
Or Peter.
Yeah, see, you got the high pitch at the end.
Or when I do my impression of Antonio Banderas, which is not one that I've covered before, but because he was the Puss in Boots. Many years ago, I developed this impersonation of him because I feel like his voice instantly sploosh like his throat, and everyone's like, "Oh, Antonio, I want you inside me." Of course you do, bitch. Listen to me.
You could use some work on that.
It's been a while since I've done it, but if you force me to talk the entire show in this, I could probably hammer it down. Right now, I'm somewhere between Antonio Banderas and the Dos Equis man. Which, talking about stay thirsty, my friend, here's the next Would You Rather.
Oh, no.
You get $1 billion to be the target at a bukkake party at, like, the Metrodome. So, like, 20,000 dudes are coming on you, but you get $1 billion. Or you get $1 million to eat out an old man's asshole.
I'd have to go with $1 million, I think.
Well, yeah, you kind of, I mean, you're eating an asshole and he's an old man and it smells because he probably doesn't bathe a bit, and that's gross, and you might still get happy. But at least you don't have to feel like 20,000 loads.
Yeah, that would take a long time, I think.
Because the most you're probably getting is like 5 or 6 dudes coming on you at one time. So talk about hours. Like, oh my God, just 5 or 6, what did I say, 20,000? Let's do some math on the old flip phone here. 20,000 divided by 5. That's 4,000 rounds of multi-splooge on you. It's just, by the time the first one dries, it's time for the next round. So you just constantly coated in like veneer after veneer of jizz. By the end, you would end up looking like one of the soggies from the Captain Crunch commercials in the 1980s. Number 3, have your dick cut off or your asshole sewn shut permanently.
Oh, I would just have to kill myself at that one.
No, you can't do that.
I can't do
That's a
either of
cop-out.
those. You can't do either of those.
Well, if you lose your dick, you're still peeing out of a hole out of the nub where your dick used to be, and your cornhole's not like closed up, so that you're slowly gonna die of like toxic shock syndrome from all that poop building up.
I suppose.
It's like where you eventually just your body would probably make you start vomiting shit.
I suppose that's one of them lesser of the two
You
evils.
lose your dick like that, it's gone, and then you have all that time to make your peace with the fact that your dick's gone and you can't play with it anymore. All you can do is just kind of flick what's left of the nub, which would be like that ex-girlfriend of mine we talked about in episode 8's clit hood, which was like a little pink dick. So you're just
Basically, you're gonna die either way. Then
kind of.
I would.
You wouldn't. You don't die from having your dick cut off.
No, but I would kill myself.
Fair enough. Number 2. Oh God, I wasn't sure if I should go with piss or shit on this one. Drink a shot glass of cum
Oh,
or a gallon of piss.
gallon of piss, easy all day.
Really?
It's fucking sterile. Whose piss?
It's just piss. It's probably
Can it be my own?
Yeah, you can either drink a shot glass
Easy.
of your own cum or a gallon of your own piss.
Oh,
Have you tasted your own piss before?
no, but
I have. It's thick. It's thick, dude. Imagine like a salty syrup, like almost like a butterscotch in like thickness, but it's runny. Like a solid turns to liquid in your mouth. It's just
what? You're gonna have to explain now why.
because we were doing a scavenger hunt like on Viva La Bam, and there was X amount of points for gargling your own piss, and I did it, and it's so like it's
enough.
not as nasty salty as ocean water because I've gargled that before too, thanks to waves hitting me in the face.
Yeah.
But like I was just like I gargled it as fast as I could and then spit it out. That was my piss. My friend did it, and he had kidney stones at the time, so he was taking these meds that made his piss army green.
Oh.
He gargled that shit. So like the next time, like you probably know what your cum smells like, right? Have you ever just like gotten cum on your hand, smelled your own cum?
My loads are huge, so I can always smell it.
Where are you coming? In the showers at my work? Bringing back the stench of cum. So you know what your cum smells like.
Yeah.
All right. So like you got just a shot glass of that quick. It's quick and it's over. You know how long it would take you to down a gallon of piss?
I suppose.
It's just like swallow, swallow, gag,
But-
swallow, swallow, gag, and you can't throw it up, motherfucker. You got to drink that.
That's
piss bar.
fine. I could go the rest of my life at least saying that I had fucking 8 cum.
It's your own cum.
Don't matter. It's still fucked up.
Some people just are curious one day, jacking off. They're like, oh, well, I guess that's not that bad.
What are these
I've been
bitches
eating a lot of
complaining
pineapple.
about?
Yeah. What the fuck was she talking about? This really is... Yeah, well, fuck her. The next thing you know, he's got his regular thing where he jacks off into his hand and he licks the cum out of his palm. Number 5, and this I think is the most perverse. Watch 60 minutes of pornography with your parents in the room. Or watch 60 seconds of pornography starring your parents.
Oh, yeah, I'd still have to watch it with them in the room at least. That's way less scarring.
That's where I went with that. As I'm like, okay, 60 seconds of porn starring my parents. That's only...
A lifetime of scars.
Hold on. That's only a minute's worth of images that you have to repress. Maybe your dad's just fucking your mom. Maybe she's fucking licking his cock like an ice cream cone. But it's only a minute. That's only like 12 sessions of therapy to get rid of that. 60 minutes of porn could be way worse. Because while you're watching it, they could start doing a running commentary of, oh, that's gross, or that's not so bad, or, oh, we've done that. Yeah, well, I used to fucking lick your mom's asshole all the time. That could be potentially 60 minutes that becomes 60 different minutes of hell, and those are each a different minute that you have to repress
But that
instead of 1 minute.
That all comes down to what the parents are like. I know our parents would not be. They would be just as fucking uncomfortable as me.
What if it's just like an extreme close-up of like his dick going into her pussy, so it's all ass and balls, and you really don't have to see their faces?
Well,
That's
yeah,
only
but
a
you were told that this is your mom and dad.
Yeah,
right?
but you don't see their faces, so all you're seeing is
Still
like
scarring.
really gross porn.
Still scarring.
60 minutes where your dad could be like, that chick, she's got nothing on your mom. Your mom could suck a cock. I mean, she
Because I
fucking
know my
makes me-
parents wouldn't say shit like that. My dad would make some cracks, but it wouldn't be anything like that.
What if your mom's like, Jesus Christ, you don't ever tongue my anus like that? You're just like, oh my God, give me a bed sheet. I'll be down in the basement. Doing what? What do you think? You got to think of one now. You got to be able to think of one thing. I just came up with 5.
See, I don't know.
Would you rather get a tattoo on your neck or your dick pierced?
Shit, that one's easy. I got them both.
See, I knew I had to make you come out of your shell a little bit because you weren't sure what you wanted to admit.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about that more and more. And
The
I
dick
think-
piercing or the neck tattoo?
No, just about what I'm going to admit to on. in this whole format.
Odds are nobody related to you is ever going to listen to
Yeah,
this.
so I think the shows will get better. I got tons of stories.
Right.
You'll have to tune in.
That's why it's been so heavy on me, because you weren't sure how much of that you wanted to divulge,
I have
just in
a
case you
fucking
go to a family reunion.
plethora.
Oh, shit.
Let's just put it this way, and we'll leave it at this for now. J-Man and I have traveled two very opposite paths through life.
But our paths crossed at different intervals. Because I first met you
multiple times
when I was like 16, so you were like 14.
Yeah, you gave me a WCW or was it WWF?
It was neither. It was a knockoff third-party guy doing keyboard versions
the
of wrestling
MDI.
CDs. I'm like, I walked out and you're like, oh, I was thinking about buying that. I'm like, here, you can have it. It sucks.
Yeah,
that was my sales pitch. You can keep it. It fucking sucks. And I just gave it to you. You were there with your brother and your mom because your mom and I worked together. And then like later on, we crossed paths again, and I was like 24, so you were about 22. That math sounds about right, I think.
Yeah.
2008, so I was 26. So you were about 24.
But
so,
we'll get into them stories later, I think.
Right.
We'll just leave it at the cliffhanger.
But that, and then like I didn't see you again. Like I'd see you off and on time, like maybe once a year. So now we regularly are hanging out 2 or 3 times a week doing the show. So like there's all these gaps for us to bridge upon the different lives that we lived, you know? So,
how we got where and why we got where.
And how I somehow got away with some of this stuff. So that's going to do it for the show tonight. Hopefully it was both thought-provoking and you gagged a little.
So check us out on Twitter. What do we call it? Podcast at Twitter.
That's what you said last time.
Yeah. Well, it's actually
WDWCI Podcast.
Yeah.
At Twitter.
Yeah.
Or something.
No, it's at Twitter. It's at WD whatever the fuck you just said.
I fucking hate Twitter. It's so complicated.
It is.
Facebook, I changed. We made the show page, and it used to be a bunch of numbers, and now I made it, and it's facebook.com/groups/ what do we call it podcast, all in word. That's the easiest way to find the show.
And subscribe to us on YouTube. What do we call it podcast?
So now, I'm J-Man.
I'm Danny.
And that's the end. Your parents fucking for like a minute. Come on.
No way.